Welcome, my dear ones, into the sanctuary. I'm delighted to be with you today. I always am delighted to have an opportunity to be in the company of like-minded people, people who come together under one purpose and one purpose alone, to be better in themselves and to create a better life around them and about them. And in so doing and being, to add to the goodness and the upliftment and the apparent healing that is needed in this world. It's the only reason why we're here. And it's not about 10 steps for this and 5 steps for that and 30 steps for the other. And it's not for what I can get out of it. It's for what I am and who I am and what I can put in. That's why we are here. That's why we are here. Because you're powerful. You're almighty powerful in the power of the presence that exists within you. So to come here thinking that you're lacking in anything is the greatest erroneous thought that you and I could possibly think, because we are not. We are not. And if you're coming here thinking that we'll soothe over and smooth over what all the apparent differences seem to be so that we can kind of put up with each other, we're deluding ourselves. We're not here for any of that. And we're not here to mend and fix and heal whatever it is we think is wrong with us, because there's nothing wrong with us. That's the power of intention. When you set your intention to know good and only good, good and only good can be the only guiding force in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. And it sure as heck will show up in your body if it's in your mind and in your heart and in your soul. Good and only good. And what does that mean? What does good and only good mean? It means how loving I am, how kind I am, how gentle I am, how non-judgmental I am, how non-suspicious I am, how non-complaining I am, how non-condemning I am, how non, and it goes on and on and on. Now there comes a time when you and I have to stop the nonsense once and for all. And maybe for you and maybe for me today is that time, I don't know. But I know in myself I'm tired of it. I'm tired trying to figure out what he's thinking, what she's thinking, what he's feeling, what. It's none of my business. It's none of my business. My business is what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling and what I'm up to. And that's my only business, and God only knows if each and every one of us would take on that responsibility just for ourselves and ourselves alone. Everybody would go home wagging their tails behind them very happily, and this world would be a better place. Like Mary's little lambs, or whoever's lambs they were, went home wagging their tails behind them. You know? I mean, my goodness me, we make it so heavy. We make it so cumbersome. We make it so difficult. We make it so challenging. We make it all the negatives that we make it. And we have to stop it, because we're in this world now at a point where every single use of mind is required in order for us not to blow ourselves up or whatever. Because we have the technology. You know? How's that going to happen? The government's coming together and thinking about it and discussing it? No. Little groups gathering together thinking about it and discussing it? No. It's one person at a time coming into their sovereignty. And to come into your sovereignty, you have to set an intention that sets us free. Sets us free from all the goings-on of an ego that's running rampant, and an ego that has never been reined in, and an ego that has been allowed to rule the roost for far too long. It's got to stop. The nonsense has to stop. And if it can't stop with us, this group of people here, there's no hope. I sat in front of a board and said that recently. If we sitting around this table cannot stop this nonsense now and come into what we're supposed to be, then what hope is there for anybody out there? And we looked at ourselves. And we looked around the table and we looked at each other. And it was a very hot spot of a situation. And there were all kinds of accusations made beforehand. There were all kinds of threats made beforehand. And there were all kinds of different fractions. And these people represented different alliances in a community. And everybody came in armed to go to war. And I sat with them. And I said, I'm only here for one reason and one reason alone. I can't solve the problems here. I'm not here to do that. I'm telling you a real story now. Bread and butter stuff. It's not a once upon a time over there 2,000 years ago this happened. Right here and right now, in a community such as ours. I can only be here if we can meet each other at the center core of the principles for which we stand. The organization stands for awakening ourselves and humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And it does it by creating a compassionate world that works for everybody. And that means honoring the power and the presence of spirit in each and every one of us, and everywhere else too. And if we can come together and leave our minds and get into our hearts and come from that state and that grace and that place, then maybe, just maybe, what would appear to be a miracle could happen here today. And in that happening, all of life will be raised up too. I can only tell you, it was the most awesome experience I've had in situations like that to date. As we brought ourselves back to why we were here, what it means to be called to such a high level of leadership. And all of you are called to a high level of leadership in the community. All of you. Each one of you is a practitioner. And no one is superior to anyone else, and nobody is inferior to anybody else. I said, if we can't do it at this level, let's all resign and go about our business and do something else. Join a group, form a spiritual club or something like that. But this is not the place for us, because what the place stands for, and it was a long time in place, this place stands for peace and respect and honoring the power and the presence alone of that which is greater than we are. And we cannot continue with this clash of titans, this clash of egos, and give scandal to the wider members of the community. And it was a beautiful outcome, because all of us around that table were able to come from what we've learned in this teaching, and not only come from thinking about the teaching, but being the teaching itself in action in a situation like that. And it was the most awesome thing you could feel and experience. So I'm saying to us that when we set the power of intention every day of our lives for good and good alone, when we back it up with all we're thinking, feeling, and doing, when we get up in the day and go out to meet our good, and knowing that our good is coming forward to meet us, and only good, and we stick to it, what appears to be miracles does happen. What appears to be miracles does happen. You have the power. Yes. How many times do we have to be told that? It's within you. It's not out there to get. It's not over there to get. It's not with him to get, or her to get, or them to get, or they to get. It's here to get. And it's nowhere else. I don't know why I'm so jazzed up with this morning, because that's not how I came in. But someone in the audience needs to hear this apart from me. Somebody apart from me needs to hear this. If you want to feel that you belong, you'll always belong in this community and you'll always be welcome. But if you want to feel you belong, then start being what we stand for, yes. I say. Start being what we stand for. Am I always that? No. I forget. I fall back into spiritual amnesia, but God knows, Spirit knows, that I do my best, and it's always my intention. And when Spirit slaps me up the side of the head and reminds me, I shake myself up and come back into alignment again. And I have people in my life that are beautifully kind and very poised in reminding me when I am beginning to fall asleep and forget. And thank God for those people in my life. And I welcome them, but I don't welcome the ones that come up to me and shake their finger in my face and telling me what I'm not or how I should be, because I know they're coming from ego. Do you know what I discovered this week? It got to me so clearly, so very clearly. I was in my morning meditation, and it's all beautiful, and it's oming, and it's grand, and it's lovely, and it's the Norse, and it's, all of a sudden the whole thing changes. I'm in a gladiator ring. I'm in a gladiator ring, okay. So there are two fractions, there are two entities in the ring. And one is the gladiator, ego, and the other is the champion, peace. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there it is, duality. This is what we're all contending with. All of us, while we're wearing a body, we will have these two energies trying their level best to be that which influences me and rules the roost, except one doesn't try at all, the other does. So here's the gladiator ego. Now remember, gladiators fight because they have to, not because they've chosen to. They fight because they have to. And they have to fight hard because they think if they don't, they'll die. And the ego is like that. It's going to fight tooth and nail because it thinks it's going to die, become extinct if it doesn't. And then here's the champion peace. The gladiator is armed to the hilt with all kinds of weapons. The champion peace has no weapon at all except one, and it's a pulsating, beating mirror called a heart. And what is radiating is life and light and love, and that's all it meets its opponent with. Life and light and love. And that champion that gladiator doesn't have a hope in Hades of gaining victory over champion peace, but nevertheless goes at it tooth and fist, goes at it with all its might, but it cannot get past this beautiful, amazing protective barrier. But then when it's worn out, what does it do? It calls in other gladiators, other dissonance to come in and support it in its fight against champion peace. And into the arena, one by one, they fill it, and they go up against champion peace without success, none whatsoever. All they do is wear themselves out and keep bringing in more dissenters and more dissenters and more dissenters. But champion peace remains sovereign in its humility, because that is what sovereignty is. Humility, and as I said before, humility is poise. It's poise. It's that beautiful peace that passes understanding, because it knows, of myself I do nothing. It's not up to me to do a darn thing. It is the power, it is the presence within me, and if I can stay poised, and if I can stay willing to be that channel of grace, and just be the vessel, and do nothing, then all is well. And of course, the champion peace wins the day. That was how my beautiful starting out quiet meditation went. And within it was, you must share this with the people today. It's not what I have prepared. I have a whole different talk prepared on my desk. But this is what we need to know, because the world hasn't time for you and me to mess around waiting until we're better tomorrow, to be all that we can be, because there is no tomorrow. Nowhere on the calendar, as I keep reminding us, is there a day called tomorrow. It's always today, today, today. So what do I have going on within me? What's going on within my heart? You see, because if I come into the freedom of the power of intention and its law of attraction for good, when I'm on that line of good, what happens to me? I am transformed is what happens to me. I move out, I exchange my tendencies toward guilt, shame, revenge, unforgiveness, lack, limitation, condemnation, criticism, judgmentalism, you name it, all the negatives, I transform out of those and I move into wellness, wholeness, a sense of fullness, a sense of plenty, a sense of enoughness, a sense of all being well, a sense of no matter what's going on, it's just something going on and it will come to an end no matter what it is, because the good and the bad always come to an end. And if I can sustain myself and maintain myself in understanding that no matter how impotent I might feel in the moment, it's only a feeling, it will pass. And what will pass it is me getting in touch with the potency and the power of the truth that indwells me, it will pass all the more quickly. Because I of myself do nothing. It is the power, it is the presence of Spirit within me, when I allow it to do the work, that does it all. So what am I called to? Mindfulness, purposefulness, intentionalness, consciousness. Deep, strong, powerful intent. What is your intent? What was it when you walked in here today? What was your intent? Was it to love and understand and be one? Was it to give and not count the cost, to fight, not heed the wounds? Was it to love rather than be loved, to understand rather than be understood? What was your intent when you came in here? Because people of the truth, people of the way, the Tao, are people that are not going to get bogged down in the pettiness of the rantings and the ravings of the ego. And you and I are here to take that ego, that beautiful thing that makes us uniquely what we are, to hold it to ourselves, to guide it and guard it and protect it and soothe it and calm it and ease it and love it into knowing it doesn't have to be afraid anymore. It's not going to die because it's part of you. It will not die. But it can come to balance, to peace, and to repose. But it's not going to happen by me wishing that it were so. It's not going to happen without you and me doing our work. And our work is to pay attention and ask myself, why am I thinking this way? What caused me to feel that? Why can I say with my hand on my heart, the judgment I have made, there's the absolute truth, nothing but the truth, so help me good. That is the truth. I don't care what your truth is. I know that's the truth. What makes me so absolutely certain in my opinions, in my beliefs, in my judgments? When I have a few pieces of the jigsaw and I cannot see the whole jigsaw of life. I'm only looking at the few pieces I have at a global level. What makes me think I can assess the truth with 3 or 4 pieces of a jigsaw? I even get upset when I'm missing one piece of the jigsaw. I don't know about you. And I will search high up and low down until I find that one piece of that jigsaw. And if I don't find that one piece of that jigsaw, I am not happy. I am so not happy. I make a little mark around the piece that's missing, and I cut out a little piece of something, and I slam it in there because I want that to be complete. Ego, so bound, so determined, and so right, so self-righteous all the time. So the power of intention, as you know, if you're reading the book, The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. If you're reading the book, it's loaded with information about ego. I wonder why. Because it's our biggest challenge. Now, when I go into the arena the next time, I want it to be a fun, like Cirque du Soleil arena. I want these two energies to be working hand in hand to create all kinds of wonder and delight and beauty and awe. I mean, that's how I feel when I go to Cirque du Soleil. I'm in awe. How they do that? You have within you, I have within me, everything I need to make my life beautiful, graceful, gorgeous, grand, in a simple, honoring, respecting, love-filled way, so that I can walk through my days gracefully, peacefully, not doing this, but doing this. Not doing this, but blessing. And so can you. And we are here in this community because we're ready to be that. We are ready to make the difference in a bigger way, a bigger way. Because one person, the power of one is awesome. But when you put a group of people who are focused and dedicated and committed to the power of one together, they are unstoppable. And remember, we're always looking only to that quantum number that will automatically transform everything and everyone. And that quantum number may be as small as it was with Watson's 100th monkey. And if you don't know about that, look it up on internet. Watson's 100th monkey. And so you're the ones, that's why you're here. And God help us all and keep us from faltering and getting too weary to the point that we do fall into spiritual amnesia and forget who we are, whose we are, why we are, and what we are. Because who and why and what everybody is here is unspeakably, unutterably awesome. So God's blessing is blessing in each and every one of you, yourself and everybody else around you. Let us intend to be that blessing in every aspect of our lives and living, and not be knocked off that intention as we think, as we feel, as we converse, and as we do. For God dwells in you as you, and so it is.